I want to give you some reference to the dragon's tail. As you can see, we have the head, the wings that we've already discussed. Come down here to the tail area, specifically to this hooked portion. So I don't think that's a coincidence. We see that hooked portion of the tail here. Let's zoom back out. Coincidentally, let's look at some pictures of dragon tails that I searched up on Google. What do we have here? Tail with the hook. The evidence is getting pretty clear, folks. Also, while we're here, we discussed with Google how the blood staining of a dragon in the hemoglobin process could be possibly responsible for the iron in the red clay mineral deposits, in theory, in North America. Funny how that red stain is right there and centralized around the damage or the severed neck of the dragon. Pretty crazy. Blood rolling downhill. Okay, so now I've asked ChatGPT how the dragon blood spilled over the land could be responsible for the red iron mineral deposits we see in the South to Midwest. This is what they had to say.
As a fictional or speculative geological scenario, you could describe it like this. Open quote, imagine a gigantic dragon was mortally wounded and an enormous volume of blood soaked into the surrounding landscape. Because blood contains iron in hemoglobin, the iron would eventually be released as the blood decomposed. Over immense spans of time, that iron could oxidize, forming iron oxides such as hematite, giving the soils and rocks a reddish color. In this hypothetical narrative, the broad red landscapes from the south into parts of the Midwest would be interpreted as the ancient oxidized remains of the dragon's spilled blood. Close quote.
Okay, so this is the question I asked ChatGPT about the fossilized dragon remains possibly becoming gold. And here's what they said.
Yes, here's the theory we discussed earlier. A fossilized animal would not biologically or chemically turn into gold on its own. During fossilization, original tissues usually decay and minerals carried by groundwater fill or replace porous material. In the hypothetical case of a dragon, large bones in the skull would be the most likely parts to fossilize because hard tissue preserves better than muscle or skin. Porous bone interiors, marrow cavities, cracks, joints, tooth sockets, and fractures would be the most likely places for gold to accumulate. Teeth, claws, horns, and bony crests might preserve well, but solid enamel or dense material would be less easily penetrated than cracked or porous bone. Soft tissue such as wings, muscles, organs, and skin would be unlikely to preserve unless exceptional conditions produced impressions or mineral replacement. For actual gold to appear, gold-bearing hot water or groundwater would have to pass through the fossil and surrounding rock later. As conditions changed, the fluid could deposit gold particles or veins inside cavities and fractures. In that scenario, the remains would act like a mineral trap or framework. The dragon's body itself would not supply the gold. So the strongest version of the theory would be, open quote, a large creature became buried and fossilized. Later geological activity pushed gold-bearing fluids through fractures and porous sections of its fossilized skeleton, depositing gold primarily around the skull, spine, joints, bone cavities, and broken areas. Close quote. This is geologically conceivable as a hypothetical mineral deposition process, but there is no established scientific evidence of fossilized dragons or of a large animal skeleton being transformed into a major solid gold deposit.
So now we've seen what ChatGPT had to say about the gold accumulation and where it would be specifically in the spines, the joints, bone cavities, and broken areas. So is it a coincidence that here near the joints, bones, broken bone areas where I described as the broken wing section before, broken neck, skull, why coincidentally they all have the highest geological gold activity in the region? So you'll notice that this is basically the area of the entire California, Nevada gold rush. Coincidence? A lot of broken spine, joints, bone cavities, like we talked about, the broken wings being like hollow bird bones in the wing section. Picture's getting pretty clear. Some more proof, so you can't just say it's me speculating. We've already talked to ChatGPT about the possible geological formations of gold from the fossilized dragon remains and the broken bones, and I told you where the gold rush happened on the west coast of New Mexico, but just in case you don't believe me, well, not just New Mexico, on the western half of the United States, just take a look at where all the mines are actually located. Right here in the broken wing section of the dragon. Coincidence? At this point, there's just too many. And so they tell you all the time, they like to tell you these lies right in front of your face. So what do we have here? Dragon house, dragon heart. That one's interesting. So if we were to locate the head of the, or heart of the dragon, I'm sorry, and this is his head, his broken neck, wing section, his back, and his tail, we would expect his heart to be somewhere around mid-chest area, mid-back. There's some other depictions of where dragon heart is located, but you can pretty much use your imagination. So it's funny that here, in the, where maybe a heart would be located in a dragon, what do we have? Right here off the coast. Dragon Heart Agency. They tell you all the time right in front of your face. Okay, this is where I need you to pay attention. I'm going to go to the book of Revelations, and it's going to give proof that there was a slain beast with a mortal wound to his neck. And is that what we're looking at today? A slain beast that's going to come back in the end of days with a mortal wound to his neck. Listen, pay attention.
And I saw a beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard, its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. And to it the dragon gave his power and his throne and great authority. One of its heads seemed to have a mortal wound, but its mortal wound was healed, and the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, for he had...
So again, our dragon here that we've been discussing, clear mortal wound to his neck. Is this the beast of Revelations that's going to come back with the mortal wound to his head in the days of Revelation? Let me know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Okay, so this is the part of the video where the implications get really wild, as if they weren't already wild enough. So we have a very clear layout of the dragon here. I think we've done a good enough job of explaining that. And now as far as it being the beast of Revelations and it actually waking up is the part that concerns me. So what we have here is the live earthquake map. So even though they're not the same map, you just kind of have to use your imagination. I can't turn this one upside down. But this large concentration of earthquakes here would be the tail of the dragon. The west coast here would be the backbone of the dragon. And even these earthquakes here in Central America or Midwest America, Middle America, seem pretty close to the head of that dragon. So are these really earthquakes? Or is this beast coming back to life? Just like they said in the book of Revelations, this entire fault line, including one of the most dangerous fault lines in the world, the San Andreas Fault, runs along the entire outline of this beast, from claw to backbone to tail. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. So let me know what you think in the comments below. You liked, you didn't like, you believe, you don't believe. Let me know your thoughts. Be glad to hear.